I adopt my wife's daughter, but now she is begging me not to divorce her mother after I catch her. I met Laura 15 years ago at a work event. I was in my early 30s, working as a project manager at a construction company, and she was a teacher. She had this warm magnetic energy that immediately drew me in. She was funny, kind, and incredibly dedicated to her young daughter Lily. When we started dating, Laura told me about her previous marriage. She was upfront about the challenges she had faced as a single mother and how hard it had been to rebuild her life after her divorce. Honesty only made me admire her more. I thought, here's a woman who's been through so much and is still standing strong. Laura's ex-husband Mark was a constant shadow in her story. According to Laura, they had met in college and their relationship had been intense but rocky. When Laura got pregnant with Lily, she thought having a child would bring them closer together instead. It highlighted Mark's immaturity and selfishness. Mark was unreliable from the start. He loved the idea of being a father but hated the reality of it. Laura described how he would disappear for days, leaving her alone with a crying baby when he was around. He was inattentive and dismissive, often prioritizing nights out with friends over spending time with his family. The final came when Laura discovered that Mark had been cheating on her with the coworker. When she confronted him, he didn't even try to deny it. He told her he wasn't ready to be a husband or father and left. He moved to another state with the other woman and cut all ties with Laura and Lily. He didn't pay child support, didn't call to check in, and completely abandoned his responsibilities. When Laura and I started dating Lily when she was 5 years old, she was a shy, sweet girl who quickly warmed up to me. I knew from the beginning that if I was going to be with Laura, I would also need to be there for Lily. Over time, I grew to love her as if she were my own. When I proposed to Laura a year into our relationship, I made it clear that I wanted to be a father to Lily in every sense of the word. Laura was thrilled, and we began the process of making our little family official. When Lily was 7, I adopted her legally. Mark, surprisingly, didn't contest the adoption. He signed away his parental rights without hesitation, as if Lily were just some old piece of furniture he no longer wanted at the time. I was furious on Lily's behalf. How could a man be so indifferent to his own child? But I was also relieved because it meant I could give Lily the stable, loving family she deserved. It for years. Life felt perfect. I worked hard to provide for Laura and Lily, and I took immense pride in being the best husband and father I could be. I was there for every milestone: Lily's first school play, her first soccer game, her high school graduation. She called me dad, and it meant the world to me. Of course, Laura and I had our ups and downs, like any married couple, but I never doubted her love for me. I believed we had built something strong and enduring. I thought I had finally given Lily the family she had always needed, but a few months ago everything began to fall apart. One night I came home early from a business trip and found Laura in our bedroom with another man. To my shock and horror, the man was Mark, Lily's biological father. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. This was the man who had abandoned them both, who had left me to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives, and now he was back. Laura tried to explain, saying that Mark had reached out to her months earlier, claiming he wanted to reconnect with Lily. She admitted that their conversations had escalated into something more and that they had been seeing each other behind my back. She cried and begged for forgiveness, but I couldn't even look at her. I filed for divorce the next day. The betrayal was too great to forgive. This wasn't just a one-time mistake, it was a calculated decision to reignite a relationship with the man who had caused so much pain. When I told Lily about the divorce, she was devastated. She begged me to reconsider, saying that everyone makes mistakes and that Laura deserved a second chance. She cried, got down on her knees, and pleaded with me not to tear our family apart. Her desperation made me hesitate. I loved Lily as my own, and seeing her so heartbroken made me question if I was making the right choice. But I told her that while I loved her, I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies and betrayal. The next day everything changed. I walked past Lily's room when I overheard her on the phone. She was speaking quietly, but I caught enough of the conversation to stop in my tracks. She was talking to Mark. "Don't worry, Dad," she said. "I'm doing my best to convince him not to go through with the divorce. He's stubborn, but I think I can get through to him once he signs the papers and transfers everything to Mom. We can move forward with the plan." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I stayed outside the door, listening as she continued. "I know it'll work. He trusts me. Once everything's in Mom's name, she can divorce him, and you guys can be together. Just give me more time." That night I confronted Lily about the phone call. At first she denied, but when I repeated everything I had heard, she broke down and admitted it was true. She had felt torn between me and her biological parents, and that she just wanted to see her family happy. Her excuses felt hollow. She wasn't just torn. She had actively conspired against me. She had been working with the man who had abandoned her and the woman who had betrayed me to manipulate me into giving up everything I had worked for. I told her to pack her things and leave. She screamed and cried, begging me to let her stay, but I couldn't look at her without feeling the sting of betrayal. I told her that she could go live with her mother and Mark, the people she had chosen over me. As I pieced together the events leading up to this betrayal, I realized that Lily's motivation was rooted in her longing for what she saw as her real family. Despite everything I had done for her, it became clear that she harbored deep unresolved feelings about her biological parents' separation and her father's absence during her childhood. From Lily's perspective, the idea of her biological parents getting back together was probably intoxicating. It wasn't just about having Mark in her life again, it was about recreating the family she had always dreamed of but never had to hear. My presence in the picture might have felt like an obstacle to that dream. I believe that in her mind, she wasn't just fighting for her parents' relationship, she was fighting for a chance to rewrite her own history. If her parents got back together, maybe it would mean that everything she had been through, the abandonment, the pain, the feeling of being unwanted, would somehow be undone. Even after everything, I still love Lily, but I can't ignore what she did. She made a choice, whether out of loyalty, manipulation, or desperation, and that choice has consequences. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive her for betraying me so completely. Since then, Laura and Mark have tried to contact me multiple times demanding that I take Lily back. They accuse me of being heartless and abandoning her, which is laughable given Mark's own history. Some friends and family members have also weighed in saying I'm being too harsh and that I should forgive Lily because she's young and made a mistake, but I can't. The betrayal runs too deep. I raised Lily as my own, gave her everything I had, and she repaid me by plotting against me. She wasn't a child making a naive mistake. She was making calculated decisions to help her biological parents destroy me. So, right, am I the a-hole for kicking out my adopted daughter after discovering she was plotting against me with her biological father and cheating mother? This situation is beyond heartbreaking. Opie gave his wife and adopted daughter everything: a loving home, stability, and the chance to rebuild after Mark walked away from them. Opie didn't just marry Laura, he embraced her daughter as his own and took on responsibilities that Mark completely abandoned. For Op's wife to betray Opie, having an affair with Mark, is bad enough, but for Lily to actively conspire with him to manipulate Opie into giving up everything Op worked for, that's a level of betrayal that's almost impossible to process. Lily is not a child anymore. She's old enough to understand right from wrong, and she made a conscious decision to betray the man who raised her in favor of the father who abandoned her. Opie is not heartless for kicking her out. Actions have consequences, and Lily needs to understand that. And now let's hear the community's opinion, not the a-hole. This is one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever read. You stepped up when her biological father abandoned her, and instead of being grateful, she turned on you to help the very man who walked out. Lily is old enough to know better. This wasn't a mistake. It was a betrayal. You have every right to cut ties and protect yourself. Stay strong. Not the a-hole. Your adopted daughter didn't just make a mistake, she knowingly and actively conspired against you. She's not a child. She's Anne, who made a conscious decision to betray you. Deserve better than this. Cut them all out of your life and focus on rebuilding. You've already given more than enough to people who didn't deserve. It's not the a-hole. This isn't just a betrayal. It's a coordinated effort to destroy your life, your wife, her ex, and your adopted daughter all work together to manipulate and hurt you. Is shocking and disgusting. Kicking Lily out wasn't an easy decision, but it was the right one. She made her choice, and now she has to live with the consequences. Focus on yourself and your future. Let me preface this. The child is not mine. I know this because I've literally never slept with her. I see my best friend as a brother, and as an extension his sister as my sister. I've known them since I was roughly 5, so it's been a while. But things changed over the past virus times. Let me explain. Just before virus began, I started dating a girl. This isn't really super relevant. Besides, she's and wants me to cut both of them out of my life. She hates drama, and this was around January. I was an idiot and didn't isolate until I had to, so it was early in the relationship when we locked down, and she moved in. Yeah, super early, but we've been friends since first year of college. Anyway, I was living with my best friend and his sister at the time. The sister was always annoyed with her brother and me because of late nights partying, etc. Understandable really. We were kind of inconsiderate. A week or so before lockdown began, I asked them both if my girlfriend could hang out here a bunch, stay most nights, etc. She had been anyway, but I felt it was politer to ask than to assume both were seemingly okay with it. My girlfriend didn't bring much. She spends most of her time reading in a shirt and underpants either in our room or in the living room. No one said anything when she did, but I can see how this is awkward and I should have addressed it sooner. I noticed that when lockdown happened, things between brother and sister and then me and my friend's sister got tense. She complained about everything, and there were quite a few arguments. It was normal family stuff. From my perspective, too messy, late, too loud. Occasionally when my girlfriend, also once my best friend's girlfriend, came for a while, was going to go home. These seemed to rectify within hours, if rarely days. We stopped getting high, drinking so much and playing loud music, etc., to not be complete a-holes, and then life started to go back to normalize. Lockdown kind of lifted, and in this time we went out for drinks and stuff a bunch. I black out a lot when drinking, so that's another reason. Anyway, it was like the first week when we were free and I got really stupidly, and we were all together. Best friend, sister, my girlfriend, best friend's girlfriend's sister was talking to some random guy at the bar, and they disappeared for the night. We end up getting back at God knows when, and I'm gone for a little while. I wake up the next morning to my girlfriend and snoring. I don't get hangovers, so I was fine in my opinion. Check phone, 3 missed calls and a bunch of texts from the sister. She's asking for me to pick her up from Char's location. I get dressed and go. She's awkward when I pick her up, and it's honestly the first actual kono we've had in a while. She's embarrassed about her behavior and says she'd hate it if things made me awkward. I tell her I don't mind. I see it as family stuff, and she seems genuine. I drop her off at a gas station because she needs to buy something and is gone for a little while. When she comes back, she's very calm. I ask her if she got everything and she says yes. Cool, we leave. We're nearly back when she asks me when my girlfriend is moving out and starts saying that she's not right for me, etc. I listen and then tell her that I appreciate her caring, but I really like this girl. I actually loved her by now but felt it was the wrong time to say it to someone else. I don't know why sister gets and flips out, saying she's not a great match for me and stuff. We get back and she storms inside, everyone asking what I'd done. My and my sisters start bickering more as she starts getting more critical of girlfriend. My girlfriend sees this and unbeknownst to me starts apartment hunting. Today she told me that she found a really nice place, a loft with huge windows and stuff that I love, and she says we can take it if I want. I don't know if the sister was listening, but she came in asking to talk to me. I say she can say it in front of my girlfriend. She tells me that she's pregnant and then mumbles. I ask who's the father, literally thinking she felt bad about that rando guy and I having to get her, but she just lingers and then tells me even if I don't stay with them, I'm going to have to pay for it. Obviously I didn't do anything and have told my girlfriend that I'd take a test in anything because this is ludicrous, but she's really mad at me, and now my best friend is shouting at me asking how I could do this and all while the sister is sitting crying and I honestly don't know what to do. I'm starting to believe her. What a mess. Looks like she has feelings for you that would explain her sudden criticisms of your girlfriend and also her final attitude on the lines of if I can't get you'll ruin you for her too, and maybe still trap you with me, but yes, DNA test is a must now, and hopefully your girlfriend won't leave over this. Maybe should have listen to girlfriend when she suggested cutting ties with him. Maybe she noticed something before. First off, you've got to stop partying so hard that you black out. That's not good for you or your friends or your girlfriend. If you didn't party so hard there wouldn't be any window for her to take advantage of you or claim that you guys had S when you didn't second guess her, did you? Pregnant. The timeline in your story is a little fuzzy. Have you seen proof in the form of a test or doctor's appointments? If she is pregnant, she's probably scared. It doesn't excuse the behavior, but I can imagine a young person spiraling pretty hard. What she's doing to you is not okay. But if you're not sure if it's yours, which it sounds like you're not, don't be such an a-hole about it, and by that I don't mean hold her hand and be her surrogate spouse. Your obligation would only to the child, not to the mother. Try to treat her neutrally until that kid pops out and you can do a proper DNA test, and you might have to have a tough conversation with your girlfriend too. I partied too hard and blacked out a few times. I can't imagine that she is telling the truth, but on the off chance, what would that look like for us? You need to have that conversation before you move in together. Update first. A couple of days after finding out, I asked for a paternity test about 6 hours after the post. That was when everyone started to wake again. I hadn't slept and probably came off poorly, but nonetheless I needed one. At first I was met with anger asking how I could doubt best friend's sister, and I really thought I was being the bad guy. I insisted with the words of the above post in mind, and best friend's sister asked me to leave and would tell me whether she would agree later. When everything had calmed down she tried to hug me. I cringed at the hug, and she ran back into the house crying. My best friend just stared at me and then shook his head and closed the door without a word. I didn't have a place to stay after this. My relationship was broken, and I wasn't sure if I could repair it. Had messaged me before, and honestly, I was selfish and couldn't really face someone who had done so much for me when I had the possibility of betraying that trust. I finally messaged her back about a day later saying that it was probably best if we took some time apart. She agreed, stating the situation was too complicated. I'm still heartbroken about this, but it's for the best. I got a call saying that best friend's sister wanted to talk, and after she would agree to the test the next week. Where I live there's a park that me and best friend used to hang out at. We'd been going there since like 9 years old. It isn't really anything special, but there's a swing set there and a bench and a slide and not much else, and I only just realized when I met them how depressing the place is. It filled me with dread returning, and I was shaking when I arrived anyway. Best friend and best friend's sister was sitting at the bench waiting for me. I showed up a little before the time, so I didn't know how long they had been there. Best friend's sister was visibly shaking. Best friend was looking at the ground. I sat down as far away on the bench from best friend's sister and then asked why they wanted to meet. Neither spoke for what felt like forever, but best friend eventually asked if I still wanted to set up an appointment. I said yes. Best friend's sister asked if best friend could get something from a store about a block away. He seemed nervous, but he left. When best friend had gone, best friend's sister turned to me and confessed she wasn't pregnant. I felt really sick then. And honestly, it's the first time I've cried that badly in months. These were two people who I had trusted most in the world since my mom died, and half of them just weren't who I thought. I left there and then, and didn't speak to either of them when they texted or rang. I also didn't try contacting my ex even though my heart ached for her. She did leave a couple of messages and voicemails saying how she missed me and hoped we could patch things up, and maybe she was too hasty, but having reread the comments and messages regarding the situation from everyone on this sub, I realized I just wasn't good enough for her. Don't take that as me pitying myself. I've acted like a child. I put pressure on her because I've been dealing with things getting blackout, not respecting her dislike of these other things that I'm reflecting on it, and I've put pressure on my best friend and his sister for moving this girl in quickly. I didn't really realize that until someone mentioned it in my first post, so thank you for helping me understand that second meeting about a week or so after. Anyway, I haven't really slept since hearing the pregnancy was a fake and ended up calling a psychiatrist I used. When my mother passed, we spoke at length about this, and Eventually realized I needed to understand the reasons for what happened, so in my very dark place I called up best friend and his sister and asked to meet to understand so I could move on. The psychiatrist said it may be good to do this, but later on when I had accepted things opposed to still in a bad headspace, yes, this was me being quite immature again going against it, they both agreed quite quickly. I know my best friend hoped that we could fix things, which is why he agreed. He had sent me so many messages I have muted him for a while, but it was around 50 when I went to message about meeting, so we all met up, and it was awkward to say the least, so I tried to do the talking but keeping it short, and I kept stuttering and faltering, and I was getting super frustrated, and then best friend's sister spoke up for the first time since meeting, and she said she was very sorry, and she started crying. I did feel really bad. I hate to make people cry. She had this whimpering look, and it felt like she wanted me to hug her, but I didn't, and she just sat there slightly hunched. My best friend didn't move. I think he was as frozen as I was. I asked why she did it. I'll condense it in bullet points. She's been in love with me since she was 16. I was 12, so I'm still weirded out by this. She was afraid of losing me. Getting serious with someone's ex didn't deserve me, and I could do much better. There were a bunch of other things she said that are a little too personal to share here, but it's basically all that combined. I thanked her for telling me and just sat there in silence for a while, and then I left. I don't know what to do. I miss my old life. I miss everything that was and not what has come to pass. I feel, really. And sad. Really sad. Me now. I'm probably never going to speak to them again. It's weird spending it on every day seeing someone to I guess never again. I'm really gonna miss them both and my most recent ex. I feel like another part of me has died. The only thing I hope I can do is go up from here. Really wish they both move on quickly. As much as I hate them right now, I love them still, and it'll be better if we can just all remember the happier times in our own spaces. I doubt any of you involved are here and reading this, but on the off chance DM and L, I wish you only the best anyway. I wanted to thank everyone who messaged on my last post. You were right, I do need to grow up. I disagree that I haven't problem, but nevertheless I'll heed what you've said and won't be getting that bad again. I'm heartbroken with everything that's happened, but I'm hoping that I can move on with my life somewhat. Update too, so I took your advice. I spoke to my ex and I explained what I could, but I still can't really wrap my mind around it, but I tried. And I cried. She cried too. She apologized for doubting me, but it wasn't her fault. I even doubted myself. I can't really expect anyone else to believe in me when I was acting in such a way. I haven't anything since that night. It feels better. I guess at least I'm more aware of things. I've been to my psychiatrist a couple of times since and they're helping me. I guess I don't know. I feel like there's a gap in me. Well, my ex asked if I needed her that she would be there for me. I thanked her but won't be responding to her again. I let her know that I'll probably need a lot of time. When we left she tried to kiss me. It broke my heart. I just couldn't do it. I'm sure she felt upset when I kind of turned my face down, and she kissed my forehead. She lingered for a while there. She hugged me when she did. It's hard to even write this, but I thought you all should know about the end of the story. A lot of you have helped me understand the errors of my ways. I'm 32, my girlfriend's 28. We've known each other for more than 10 years and I've previously been in a relationship with her. That was when she was 20 and I was 24. We dated for 2 years, but then broke up. She then married another guy. When she was 25, they had a child together, but since she was underweight at the time and could not get pregnant, they underwent in vitro fertilization and had a surrogate mother carry the child. But the child is not genetically related to the surrogate. Sadly, her husband passed away when their baby daughter was only 1 month old. This was around 2-3 years ago. My girlfriend and I rekindled our relationship this year and she's been very upfront about everything. I've met her daughter, who is absolutely adorable, and it doesn't bother me in the least that she has a child. It bothers my family, however, namely my mother. Once I told her that my girlfriend has a child with her previous husband, she immediately was suspicious. She grew even more suspicious upon seeing a picture of my girlfriend and her daughter together. My girlfriend is half Chinese, and her daughter is technically a quarter Chinese, but you can barely tell. Her daughter has light blonde hair, almost white and sky blue.